Hello everyone, Cerberus here at the gates bringing you a very special FSW collection. Let's get started. So today we have the quarter, so named because it's worth $0.25. It's a silver colored 25-cent piece. It depicts a caribou, one of Canada's beloved antlered animals. So starting off we have the 1919 25-cent piece. 1919 25-cent piece, which is minted in 92.5% silver, 7.5% copper. On the back we have King George V, which appeared on this quarter between 1911 to 1936. 1911 to 1936. 1919 25-cent piece. Next on the list we have the 1937 25-cent piece. 1937 with a caribou over in the back. We have Queen Elizabeth II's father, King George VI, who appeared from 1937 to 1952. Again, minted in silver, but only 80% silver and 20% copper. 25-cent piece from 1937. All right, moving on. Next we have the 1939 25-cent piece. 1939. Also minted in 80% silver, 20% copper. On the back. Still King George VI, who appeared from 1937 to 1952. Queen Elizabeth II's father. 25-cent piece, 1939. Moving on. We have the 1940 quarter, again with the caribou. 1940 25-cent piece. On the back, King George VI. Also minted in 80% silver, 20% copper. Alright, back to the front. 1940 25-cent piece. Alright, moving on. Next we have the 1945 25-cent piece. 1945. On the head side, King George VI, 1945. 1945, still minted in 80% silver, 20% copper. $1945. Next we have the 1947 quarter. 1947. 1947. On the back, a King George VI stamp. Back to the tail side, 1947. Alright, next we have the 1953 quarter. After the death of King George VI on February 6, 1952, Queen Elizabeth II took place on June 2nd, 1953. And was stamped with the Queen Elizabeth II in 1953. 1953. Queen Elizabeth II. 1953. Still minted in 80% silver, 20% copper. Here we have a 1957 quarter. 1957. On the back, stamped with Queen Elizabeth II. 1957. Moving on. Next we have a 1963. 1963 25-cent piece. On the back, the Queen Elizabeth II stamp. Back to the front. 1963 quarter, still minted in 80% silver, 20% copper. 1963. Next we have a very special piece. The centennial piece with a lynx instead of a caribou. The 1867 to 1967 commemorative centennial 25-cent piece with a lynx. On the back, Queen Elizabeth II. Queen Elizabeth II. Now, 1967 was the last year they minted quarters with 80% silver and 20% copper. 1967, commemorative 25-cent piece. All right, moving on. Here we have a 1968 quarter, 1968, 25-cent piece. On the back, we have Queen Elizabeth II. 1968, minted in 50% silver, 50% copper. 1968. 1968 was a very special year because there were two quarters made. One quarter in silver and the other in steel. I'm sorry, in nickel. In nickel. 99.9% nickel. And a 50% silver and 50% copper. Nickel versus copper. The nickel version, 1968, still with the Queen Elizabeth II stamp on the back. 1968 25-cent piece. And how do you tell which coins are minted in silver and which one's a nickel? If you take a magnet, the magnet does not pick up the silver coins, but picks up the nickel. And that concludes today's very special FSW collection. Well, it's time to lock these coins back up and thank you for joining me. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next spread.